Live from downtown Bakersfield, 23 ABC News starts now.
A chemical spill in Taft forces residents to evacuate for hours. What investigators are now saying about that spill.
And multiple people are in custody following a deadly stabbing. Officials have now released the identity of the victim.
Plus, the City Council has decided to move forward with the location on a new low-barrier homeless shelter. We have an interview with City Councilman Andre Gonzalez next about this decision. Good morning and thanks for joining us on 23 ABC News at 6 a.m. I'm Danielle Kernkamp.
And I'm Mike Hart, bringing in Elena Rusk right now to get a look outside at exactly what we are seeing.
So it's kind of cool and spooky,
nice.
Which I like.
That.
Some low clouds are floating on by. You see, our overall pattern is to be dry and sunny and stable as high pressure takes over. But now look at our roof camera this morning, which has some of that kind of gray shading out there. So with this pattern, there's no rain. We're not talking about widespread dense fog. Looking at our fog map, you can see there is lowered visibility up in the northwestern portion of the valley, and especially north of Delano. They're at 40 there in the city of Delano, 46 here in Bakersfield, up in the mountains at or below freezing for Tehachapi and Fraser Park. So look ahead will show us that we are above average with 60s for the valley, the Kern River Valley, and the Kern Desert today, 50s in those South Mountains this afternoon. As for the roadways, wide open passes are running in the green, but watch out for that fog in the northwestern valley.
Well, after months in the work, the Bakersfield City Council has moved forward, decided on where it will go with the new low-barrier homeless shelter. The council deciding Wednesday night on the Calcot location in Councilman Andre Gonzalez's ward. He joins us this morning in studio to talk more about last night's decision and the vote. A very close vote.
Very close.
Were you expecting it that close?
I was. You know, this is a very difficult decision to be made for the entire council. Very controversial. Whenever we talk about shelters or things of that nature, there are a lot of people who don't want that in their own backyard. Sure. And so it's going to be a controversial issue no matter where we go. It
was a 4-3 vote. Was there anything in particular last night that you maybe heard either from one of your colleagues on the council or maybe from someone who stepped to the podium that you hadn't heard before?
You know, we heard all throughout the process and in various community meetings that the neighborhood around Calcot was underserved, that many of the roads, the sidewalks, curbs and gutters were lacking, and that we needed to bring them up to Bakersfield standards. And so part of the motion that I made last night, or one of the motions, was for us to have a neighborhood improvement plan that we put in place so we can begin reinvesting in those neighborhoods.
Was that a concern of many of the people that are directly impacted that live near this facility or work, or was that some of their concerns?
It was, and they made a good point that here we're putting a homeless shelter when they've been asking for curbs, gutters, and sidewalks and all these other infrastructure improvements. And so Councilman Weir made a suggestion. He said, let's get this work done as well. Let's focus on these improvements in the neighborhood. We need to make sure that they're all up to standard, and I agree. So that was one of the motions that we carried last night.
When we're looking at all the different, there was also a proposal perhaps pairing up with the county and doing one massive project there. But when you're looking at this Calcot facility, let's talk about the people that are going to be going there. As there are a lot of some misconceptions of people thinking that individuals are just going to walk right up and be admitted. That's not how this is going to work.
No, there is no walk-up facility. It's a referral-only building, and so people will have to be transported to that site. We will not be offering meals or any services directly to people to walk up into. So this is there should be no reason why individuals find themselves on foot at that facility. It will be a referral-only closed campus.
You're talking, and the referrals would come from
service organizations, from agencies such as Flood Ministries, or from the Bakersfield Police Department, or Behavioral Health and Recovery Services.
Would other shelters like the Bakersfield Homeless Center, that type, would it be where someone walks in and they say, well, we can't take you because of this, this, and this, but we're going to send you over there?
That's correct. This is what's called a low-barrier shelter. What we mean by that is we're allowing for pets, for partners and possessions, people with those 3 Ps, pets, partners and possessions, to find a space there at the Calcot facility. In that way, we can really reduce the number of people who we see on our streets, whether it be downtown or other parts of town, reduce the number on the streets in a real way.
Talk about another P, police and security when it comes to this. That has been a major issue, especially with the potential size once you bring in phase 2 and 3 down the road and expand to several hundred individuals. Now that you have a location, Will the BPD be doing more? Will they be joining in all this?
That's a good question. So one of the staff recommendations is for the Bakersfield Police Department to have a substation on that site, on that campus.
Like the sheriffs are planning to do with the county.
Correct, but even more comprehensive, that will serve not just that location but the surrounding neighborhood, so that we can have a stronger presence and respond to the numerous calls for service that we receive within that neighborhood. The volume is pretty high, and so I think that would be a huge asset for that neighborhood to have a police substation there.
Andre, thank you for coming in this morning. We'll chat with you more as this goes down the road.
You bet. You're welcome.
Very good. All right, let's go over to Danielle.
Now to the chemical spill that forced many to evacuate in Taft. Kern County fire officials announcing that those evacuations have been lifted. 23 ABC's Austin Westfall joins us live in studio with the latest on what happened out there. Austin?
Danielle, officials are now investigating why the leak happened and how another one can be prevented. Fire officials announcing all evacuations were lifted by about 8 o'clock last night.
We received a call from the Taft facility, and the caller initially had reported about approximately 16 ounces of a chemical had released from a tank that was shipped in.
It all began around 10 Wednesday morning when Kern County Fire received reports of a chemical leak at Taft Manufacturing on the 1900 block of South Lake Road. The chemical acrolein was leaking from a large container shipped from overseas. Officials saying the container arrived with a 16-ounce leak, but the problem grew over time to about 250 gallons.
They do have the absorbent that neutralizes that chemical fully over and absorbing it, so it should be mitigating at this point, and we do expect that to pretty much dissipate.
The leak has since been cleaned up, but in the process, dozens of people were evacuated from the plant, and officials encouraged anyone living or working up to 6 miles away to evacuate the area.
I had smelled the smell, and so I decided, I need to get out of here because I live in a house that it's hard to seal the windows.
Officials from the Kern County chapter of the American Red Cross opening an evacuation center at First Baptist Church in Taft. They said there were anywhere between 2 to 10 people who stayed with them throughout the day. Now that the leak is contained, evacuations have been lifted, and the shelter has been closed, it's now time for health officials to investigate how the leak happened.
This is a permitted facility by Kern County Public Health Services. We regulate them. We take today very seriously, so we will be conducting an ongoing investigation.
Now, U.S. health authorities say acrolein is very toxic when it's breathed in. Michelle Corson with Public Health saying that one of the main points of their investigation will be figuring out how this will not happen again. In the studio, Austin Westfall, 23 ABC, connecting you.
2 people are behind bars following the deadly stabbing that unfolded near Foothill High School Tuesday. A grieving mother speaking out after the loss of her 17-year-old son, identified by her as Jose Flores.
I just want justice for my son. This is not fair.
That was Vanessa Valenzuela, who said she was too distraught to go on camera. KCSO officials say what started as a fight quickly turned deadly on the corner of Weed Patch Highway and Foothill Road. Foothill High School, along with other neighboring district campuses, were on lockout for several hours. Responding deputies doing their best to control the chaos and preserve the evidence of the crime scene.
Trouble controlling it. We had 300 kids, 300 people there. You had people, everyone taking video.
Officials say 2 other people were also stabbed, a juvenile and a man. Both have since been arrested. Officials say one of them is 23-year-old Jason Cruz, now facing homicide charges. The other is a 14-year-old boy who was booked into juvenile hall for assault with a deadly weapon. The investigation is still ongoing.
All eyes now on the jury in the trial of Leslie Chance, accused of killing her husband in 2013 and leaving his body in an almond orchard. After hearing closing arguments, the jury began deliberating yesterday, just before 4 o'clock. They're expected to be back this morning to continue those deliberations at 9 a.m. If found guilty, Chance faces the possibility of life in prison without parole. We do want to note, since Chance's last trial ended in a mistrial, if this case also ends in a mistrial, the prosecution will have the option to refile charges again.
Well, if you're looking for a job and you're 24 or younger, this is the event for you. Bakersfield College is hosting the Youth Internship and Career Fair. Organizers inviting you to hear from employers about jobs and internships right here in Kern County, especially for youth. Remember to bring a resume with you and to dress to impress, because some employers may interview and accept resumes on the spot. You have plenty of time to prepare. It's happening March 27th at 9 a.m. at the job spot at 1501 Panama Lane.